Coming up, meet Mr. Happy Face, the world's ugliest dog. Plus, Pyra is a trailblazing queen. And Jason Begay tells us about his plans to start an internship program for future Native journalists. I am Aaliyah Chavez. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines from the ICT Newscast.
Arizona PBS is proud to support Indian Country Today. For 6 decades, we've provided television programs and now digital content. But we go beyond that, sending outreach teams across Arizona, offering workshops in language and literacy, family engagement and community outreach, and supporting tribal communities with early learning and school readiness resources. Join us at azpbs.org.
This is the ICT Newscast with Aaliyah Chavez.
Thank you for joining us. We start in Vancouver, where a First Nations leader has survived an attempt to remove her from power. This week, the Assembly of First Nations, also known as AFN, held its annual gathering. This came amid growing internal issues. In June, the leader of AFN, Roseanne Archibald, was suspended by the organization. Those opposed to Archibald defended her suspension, saying it happened because she made a public statement that allegedly attacked the integrity of the body. Because of the suspension, Archibald was prohibited to attend the July gathering, but she showed up anyway and was allowed to take a seat at the head table. Shortly after, a motion to suspend Archibald was voted on by the full assembly. The vote did not ultimately end up being successful.
Why did they attempt to suspend me? Because I told the truth about the corruption at the AFN. I have a sacred moral obligation to speak the truth.
Archibald is the first female leader of AFN, and the body represents more than 600 First Nations across Canada. Staying north of the Medicine Line, Jim Nielsen was a Cree hockey player who had a long career in the National Hockey League. Now he is being recognized by the Canadian Museum of History.
These skates and hockey gloves are on display in the lobby of the Canadian Museum of History. It's a small collection donated by Jim Nielsen's family. Nielsen's daughter says it's an inspirational story to share.
Due to his, he had a challenging upbringing growing up in the orphanage, and that he was able to kind of overcome a lot of obstacles very young in his life to make it to the NHL and have a really long, successful career.
Nielsen hailed from Big River, Saskatchewan, and managed to enjoy a 17-year hockey career as a stay-at-home defenseman. That began with the New York Rangers in 1963 and wrapped up in 1979 with the WHA Edmonton Oilers. Nielsen's son David says it was his dad's passion for the sport that pushed him to succeed.
I think he had that going in, which really helped along the way, right? That kind of mindset, right? And to be successful, to getting to the NHL. I don't know if Dad had it all worked out in his head or anything like that, what was going to happen, how could you? But once it happened, he had the smarts to, have that kind of mindset, right? That really suits pro sports.
According to the museum's curator of sport and leisure, it's a journey and legacy worth being told.
When we think about sports and Indigenous people, and even sports in general, often people think about famous first and the first one, but not those who came in between. And Jim Nielsen's also really unique for having grown up in an orphanage and not a residential school, and yet in his story we can see threads of racism and the challenges he encountered as an Indigenous hockey player.
The collection will be on display here at the museum until October 1st and at Francis APTN National News, Gatineau.
Indigenous people in the East African country of Tanzania are resisting eviction from their lands by the government. Behind the forced removal of Maasai herders is an effort to create a game reserve for trophy hunters in the region. Experts say up to 70,000 Maasai people could be displaced. In footage recorded of the attacks, the group is shown to be running from gunfire and tear gas. The current conflict began in June when military forces arrived to build a concrete boundary for the reserve. A Maasai elder, who did not give his name, says an interaction with the military had him pleading for the lives of his group.
We are here and we are tired. We ran away, the three of us, and we were ambushed by the military. I can say it was the military. They got out of their vehicles and started beating us. I personally tried to plead with them. My fellow Tanzanians, do not kill us. Why are you killing us? This land belongs to our grandparents.
Some Maasai are now fleeing to Kenya after eviction protests escalated. And after the death of a police officer, 20 people from the indigenous group have been charged with murder. The East African Court of Justice is set to rule on a legal challenge to the eviction of the Maasai from their lands. The latest summer blockbuster by Indigenous filmmaker Taika Waititi is premiering all over the world. Thor: Love and Thunder is the Modi citizen's second time leading a film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Oscar winner wrote the script and is also one of the stars. He says moviegoers will see battles and explosions, along with a few more human problems and emotional journeys. Taika will continue to play the fan-favorite character Korg, and reports show we'll learn more about Korg's backstory. Like many Indigenous filmmakers, Taika spoke about familial connections.
That's the only way I want to work. Yeah, I don't want to work with any. I don't want to go to work and stress about like having to work with someone's ego. All of these people are family, they're all friends, and we get each other, and that's the only way I want to work.
Thor: Love and Thunder premieres in the U.S. on July 8th. And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. Coming up, a new team member and a fun form of expression. But first, the world's ugliest dog is a native dog. Stay with us. Dene musician and activist Janita Benally wanted something special for her birthday last year, so she went to the local animal shelter and asked for the oldest and most unadoptable dog. That's how Mr. Happyface joined her family in Flagstaff, Arizona. And now Mr. Happyface is a star. He was recently named the world's ugliest dog. ICT's Sandra Schulman has this fun interview.
Good, it's a pleasure to be here with Mr. Happyface.
The world's ugliest dog. Unbelievable. Tell us how he became world's ugliest dog just a little over a week ago.
So Mr. Happyface became world's ugliest dog when he was on a whim entered into a contest in Petaluma, California, the Sonoma Marin Fair, which hosts the world's ugliest dog contest. And I had just happened to be there and reserved a whole chunk of time just to do some editing and mixing of my radio show, Indigenous Youth Nation. And we decided that it might be a fun thing to do at the end of the week with a group of youth. And
you had traveled with the dog. You took the dog with you.
With the dog, yes. Yes, with the dog, because the dog is attached to me. I am attached to the dog. I am the dog's emotional support human. And so wherever, so he kind of needs me. So I took the dog, and we had entered him just a couple weeks before with that intention that we were going to be there and, hey, let's just do this because it will be fun.
Yeah, fun.
And I thought that Mr. Happyface was way too glorious and way too beautiful to ever win a contest like that.
I would have thought the same thing. I mean, look at him. There's the tongue. All right, but you got up there with the other contestants and you ended up winning.
We did. And it was such a shock and such a surprise to be able to win this title for him.
And so part of when you won, they flew you to New York to appear in the Today Show. And what else happened in New York?
So we appeared on the Today Show. We did an interview for CNN. We went to Central Park and played and ran around a whole bunch.
Oh, great.
And we enjoyed the fact that New York is a really dog city, dog-friendly kind of city.
Yeah.
And I'd never really traveled with a dog before, but he did so well. And they were so kind to him.
Good. So you did a bunch of media in New York, and you were there a few days, and now you're back in Arizona. So what's next?
So it was actually a whirlwind trip to New York City. We were there for just about, I think, over a day, just enough time to sleep and to eat meatballs at a restaurant for the first time. Mr. Happy Face got to enjoy. And so what is next for Mr. Happy Face is that he now has his own social media platforms. Mm-hmm. And so we're inviting people to watch and follow. And he has a campaign called Create Kindness. And we're hoping that people get to see just a little bit, we experience that this world can be an ugly place sometimes. And if we can create a little bit of kindness, a little bit of compassion towards each other, we can make the world a whole lot more beautiful.
And respecting elders, which is a big thing, I know, with Native peoples, right?
Absolutely. Respecting elders and adopting old dogs, too. I mean, it would be really incredible to be able to, and I know there are some organizations out there that partner senior pets with our elders as well. So Mr. Happy Face is doing what he can with his platform as well to bring, he's very loud, sorry. So he's doing what he can as well to bring awareness to res dogs and to the situation that is surrounding reservation dogs with not having resources and accessibility to vaccines and spay and neuter clinics.
Mm-hmm. Very important too. So he's got an Instagram account and you're doing meet and greets on your tour with your band Sahasan.
Yes, we will be across country with our band Sahasan, and we will take the opportunity to do some meet and greets because I've seen firsthand how much joy Mr. Happy Face brings to people. And I love sharing. I love sharing that with them. I love that he's able to do that for people, and we'll do it as he feels okay. He is 17 years old, so going back to respecting elders, even our four-legged elders, we want to respect them as well.
But I think he'll be happy with you being out on tour and being with the family, right? So.
Absolutely. He's a little bit attached to me. He's a little obsessed with his mommy.
A little bit. All right. Well, it's very good. It's really great to meet you, and congratulations to Mr. Happy Face, and long may he reign and bring attention to shelter dogs and older dogs.
Absolutely. So we want to invite people as well, to do what you can in your community to help out the senior dogs, to foster, to adopt. A lot of shelters do need help with resources, and so if you are around a grassroots organization, give them some love.
That was Janita Benally with the world's ugliest dog, Mr. Happy Face. Salt River Pima drag queen Pyra has been named the Indigenous Fire Queen of Phoenix. She has been performing for over 3 years in Arizona, and she's here to talk about her experiences as an Indigenous drag queen. Hi, Pyra. It's great to have you here.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for giving me the time and actually asking me to join y'all on this newscast.
Yeah, I mean, let's just jump right in here. Tell us what got you started in doing drag to begin with.
When I first turned 21, that's when I first went to like a drag show. So I really started to watch RuPaul's Drag Race when I was in my senior year of high school, but most drag shows are 21 and over. So I'd never actually been basically exposed to it. So when I first turned 21, I went to my very first drag show. I loved it. I loved the energy. It was just a different type of performance from what I'm used to, because in high school, my background is with band. I used to play the saxophone. I love marching band. That's where my performance comes from. And I've always loved dance and a lot of the 80s and now pop stars, pop divas, mostly like Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Madonna, Janet Jackson. So being able to see that people can transform themselves and go on stage and make people happy for a night and perform, that's something that I really wanted to get started in. So I started with local amateur drag shows, usually how everyone gets their start. You try to make a name for yourself, you go to competitions, you win, you lose, you network. So that's kind of how I got my start, and I networked all my way to having my own brunch show every last Saturday of the month, and also little shows that I host here and there when I get asked.
You know, that's one of the most special parts of a drag show is the competition. You see all of the queens get strutting their stuff. Maybe tell us about your creative process and, you know, what makes you stand out from others.
Okay. I would say my creative process is really set into the performance. Ever since I was a little kid, I love music. I love dancing. I really wanted to take dance classes in high school and junior high, but where I went, they never really had any type of dance classes. So what I would do is I would watch YouTube videos of dance choreography routines and try to teach myself those routines. So usually what I do is I find a song that I like. More often it is a really energetic dance song because I like the high energy of drag. I do a couple of routines here in my apartment, blasting the music, practice, put my counts in there. And then after that, that's when I go to the look. How do I want to present the hair? What do I want to wear? What type of fabric? Then once I get everything ready, I'm usually practicing for a show that I'm booked in, because right now, recently, I'm booked at least once a week, which is very, very time consuming because you got to think of the hair, you got to think of the outfit, you got to think of the numbers. And a lot of the times we make our own mixes. So it takes a lot of effort on our part to make sure what we're thinking translates onto stage. But for me, the one creative process I think of is the music and what I want to look like on stage, how I want to do my choreography.
I'd love to learn more about the Indigenous drag community. Can you sort of characterize how large it is and how supportive it is?
Yeah. When I first got started in the drag community, I myself didn't know a lot about any other Indigenous queens. But as soon as you get into the community, it's kind of very surface level. Then when you start to come around people, you get into the different basically the different cliques of people that are in the scene. You go to your pageant queens, your Latin queens, your female presenting queens who are actually women who do drag as well. Then when I started, I didn't know a lot about Indigenous drag queens. Then I did meet the very first Indigenous drag queen that I met. Her name is Tay D. DeMornay. She is from the White Mountain Apache Reservation. And I love her. She is amazing. She's one of the queens that I personally did look up to. Then as soon as I found her, I started to find all these other Indigenous drag queens. And I didn't know that there used to be an Indigenous drag show in the Phoenix area called the Excuse My Beauty Review. And when I started doing work for Dene Pride, raising money for the scholarships, being asked by these older queens, that's where I found the community. Then as soon as I started doing drag, there started to be more more people my age that are newly coming into drag. So I think we're all supported. We all know each other. We know what tribes are all from. Some of us are actually from sister tribes. Some of us reside in the same tribes, but we do support each other. We look out for each other. It's very much family when we come around one another. And if there's anything we need, we will help each other. I do know with me, Tay, there's another performer. Her name's Rita. She's from, I believe, Gila River Indian community. And then also my partner is a drag queen as well. And they're from the Navajo reservation. So we all just kind of help. We give each other advice. I feel like it's a very close community in the Indigenous community. And we do look out for one another.
Well, Pyra, I wish you the best of luck on your show this weekend. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, thank you. You enjoy your day.
ICT's team is expanding yet again. Jason Begay has been hired as a national editor and coach for our digital arm. Jason is a veteran journalist and longtime educator. Jason, welcome to the ICT Newscast.
All right, thanks for having me.
So you'll be developing a national internship program for ICT, but tell us more about that initiative.
Yeah, so I think internships are basically the foundation of any great journalism career. My career started with a bunch of great internships that I had with great mentors. And it's really the best way to learn how to do this and to gain the confidence to do it regularly. To put your name on a piece of work takes a lot of work and, like I said, confidence. So I think what we want to do is create a pretty broad network across the country to welcome more students into our newsroom, but also into journalism in general. Because as we all know, having storytellers telling our own stories is very important.
Do you have any idea yet on just how soon we could welcome interns into our newsroom?
Not yet, no. It's my third day here. But hopefully, I mean, as early as maybe even as this fall semester coming up. I mean, that's pretty idealistic, but definitely next summer, but I'm hoping for it even sooner than that.
Jason, you're right. Thank you for correcting me. Your first day was just this Tuesday, but I'm just so excited that I had to ask that question. I want to switch gears and actually talk about your work at the University of Montana because you already work with students. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I've been working at the University of Montana School of Journalism for 12 years. I just finished my 12th year. I'm actually on sabbatical this year. And I teach reporting and writing classes, and the big class I teach is the Montana Native News Honors Project, where we send students out to the 7 reservations throughout the state of Montana. So they basically spend their spring break on reservations doing reporting trips. So we'll have teams of 1 photographer, one reporter, and based on a theme that we pick every year, they'll go out and report these stories over the course of the week. They'll come back and then we edit them and just work nonstop until it gets published at the end of every spring semester, every May.
How long has it been since you were a reporter yourself?
A full-time reporter, it has been 6 years, I think. It's been a while. No, it's been 12 years. I've been teaching for 12 years. My last full-time job was as a reporter covering child-led government for the Navajo Times newspaper.
Yeah, reporting, I think all of us at our heart and our journalism soul, we're all reporters, and that's exactly what makes us all so excited. I want to talk about your work at the New York Times because you did have the opportunity to work there, so tell us about that.
Yeah, it was great. I was there as an intern back it was a while ago, but it was probably exactly the way you expect it to be. It was just like nonstop work. I mean, I think at one point I was working on a project story, but still doing my daily reporting stuff. So like basically my schedule was sleeping in 4-hour blocks twice a day, but because I had to go to work, and then my project had me out in this place called the Fulton Fish Market every night for like between 6 to 8 hours. So just like nonstop, go to work, go to sleep, go to the fish market, go to sleep, go back to work for like 2 weeks. It was awesome. I mean, I loved it. I can't do it these days, but back then it was perfect. I had a great time.
Jason, what kinds of stories do you like to report on? And maybe tell us about what kinds of stories, you naturally gravitate to.
Yeah, I got into journalism because I wanted to be a writer, and journalism when I first got started. I got my first journalism job when I was 18. It's actually the only thing I've ever done my whole life, except for 1 year when I delivered pizza. So I got into it because I wanted to write, and it was the only job that would pay me to write. The stories that I like to focus on are stories that let me be creative and write a bit. But also, I mean, I get great satisfaction from helping to make hard to understand subjects easy to read, right? So like budget stories are fun to do. Like government planning stories can be fun to do, as long as you I have a great sense of accomplishment if I can write something that's really boring but make it interesting for most people.
I want to leave on a good note. If there's a young person, a child watching this interview, and they said, oh my gosh, maybe I would consider being a journalist, what would you tell them?
Give it a try. I mean, it's fun. It really is a lot of fun. Even I know plenty of people who have done this for a few years and then moved on to something else and left feeling very fulfilled, right? It definitely gives you, it gives you really great communication skills for one, right? And there's no denying that. But it also gives you a great worldview of how things work, and you have a better understanding of the people and your neighbors and your community. And I think anybody who does journalism, even for just a few years, leaves very fulfilled.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the team again.
Oh, thanks so much.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For more news, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives. I am Aaliyah Chavez.
Sometimes you got to take a stand just because you know you can. Oh, you got to run, you got to run.